I'm Paul Riedner, and this is CE5 Minneapolis, a mini-series about what happens when a team of researchers attempts to prove that we are not alone. Last episode laid a foundation for what already has been disclosed to the public and to the media at the National Press Club in 2001. And as critical as this was to my worldview, it didn't truly engage me until I watched the documentary Sirius, learning that one could use meditation to make contact with intelligent life.
Given Schrodinger's idea that the number of all minds in the universe is one, in order to make this type of contact, a human could potentially access that single inner consciousness through intense meditation and then visualize his location down through the Milky Way to the planet Earth to wherever he sits under the stars. In theory, then, any extraterrestrial passing by would be able to hear the broadcast and know exactly where to go, if they choose to do so.
This is a recording of me opening up to my parents over Skype. They were a little shy, so it's only my voice. Well, when I went down to Red Wing for that retreat, it was like 1 month before that I saw the video that I sent you guys, Sirius. And I had already known that, what Dr. Greer is doing and the truth about extraterrestrial life. But I didn't know until I watched that video that they were using consciousness to do it. And then I got very, very interested, because that's what I've been kind of on a quest for, understanding how our minds actually work. And so when I figured that, I already started meditation, and when I saw that they were actually using meditation to make contact, I was like, I'm in. This is amazing. There's nothing here that I'm not interested in. The challenge for me is just to go this far and do what I did, talk and reach out to people and commit myself to being open and honest about what I've experienced, requires me to deal with my own personal fears and about what other people might think, or but that's why I did it. I don't want to just sit and be quiet about the most important thing that's ever happened to me. And it's been fun to connect with people who are also doing the same thing. It's just an amazing group of people. So I haven't met a bad person yet. It was hard. It was really hard to get to this point, but I wanted to involve you guys and Anita at least before I launched it, because you probably, who knows what happens from here on out, but I don't want to live with secrets anymore, and this is kind of a cool way to help the community, help these people that are doing this with me. Also just be open with people around me. I'm not going to fucking hide this shit anymore. Tuesday, May 20th, 2014 was a day I'll never forget. This was the second day of a week-long art retreat that I was a part of in my hometown. And it was a long day. It was about 9:30 when I got back to the Via Maria where we were staying. And I ran inside to my dorm room and I grabbed my field gear that I had packed up in my backpack. And I headed out for the site that I identified to be my first attempt at CE5. My packing list: a charged iPhone, battery-powered speaker, two-way radio, electrical tape, a headlamp with a red light lens, water, matches, sweatshirt and jacket, gloves, a collapsible lawn chair, and a couple beers. Don't tell Dr. Greer. That's not recommended on the packing list. So I get in my car and I drive out to the edge of the grounds, and it was a real nice campsite there with a fire pit, and they had some log benches around it. And it was in the middle of this pretty decent sized clearing, so I had a huge view of the sky. And the weather was perfect. It was dark, quiet. There wasn't any trace of wind, and the stars were really out bright. And I had been preparing for this night for a long time. It was my little secret experiment. I'd been meditating every day and practicing the procedures for over a month now. And everything was set, so I began to set up the camp. First thing, I set up my iPhone with the speaker and started playing the signature tones. Sound is the first modality of the contact trilogy that we use to make contact. So then I powered up my handheld two-way radio and used electrical tape to keep the transmit button depressed. And so what this was doing was relaying the tones from my speaker into shortwave radio. These tones are an actual field recording that the BBC acquired. I think someone recorded them shortly after a crop circle was found in England. It's a little eerie at first. Once these tones are playing, I think the context of the experience changes greatly. It got me in the mindset of acknowledging the presence of other intelligent life and then summoning them to my position. So as the tones are playing, I gather up some wood and I make a fire. I find that the fire helps me get centered. I sat by the fire and began to relax and prepared to begin the second modality, thought. So I switched from the tone section of the ET Contact app to a guided meditation.
Now, let's close our eyes. Be in a relaxed state. Allow yourself to hear and understand, but also see and experience as we share the unfolding of the order and structure of the cosmos from the infinite to the most manifest creation.
Okay, so even though I had prepared and practiced, and I understood what was going to have to happen for me to do CE5, I didn't put it all together that I'd be sitting alone in the woods at night and would have to close my eyes and meditate for 20 to 30 minutes, you know. And I have plenty of experiences out in nature at nighttime, camping and, you know, being in the wilderness, but it kind of took me by surprise how unsettled I was at first. It took me a little bit to calm myself down. So I took it easy and I wasn't too hard on myself. I actually didn't make it through the first guided meditation. My mind was just all over the place, and I kept slightly opening my eyes and peeking out to see if there were any wild animals that had crept up on me. Or it's pretty funny actually that I thought I could be so sly that I could just take a quick little peek, just barely, and that it wouldn't disturb my meditation at all. So I just stopped. I cracked a beer and I tended to the fire. My next meditation went much better. And just to get a sample, here's what I'm listening to from the app as I make my second attempt at executing this protocol.
Sit quietly in a comfortable position and take a few cleansing deep breaths in and out. As you exhale, release all your anxieties and tensions and your concerns. And as you breathe in deeply, breathe in peace and silence and calmness. Do this several times. Now sitting quietly in a comfortable and relaxed state, allow yourself to become gently aware of awareness. Allow yourself become deeply centered, deeply aware of just pure, silent awakeness.
I completed a few cycles of the coherent thought sequencing in both directions. I had a really good understanding of my location on the planet, and my location was pretty easy to communicate because imagine if you are above North America, you can easily pick out Lake Superior. It's at the end of the chain of Great Lakes between the U.S. and Canada. And if you drop straight down south from the tip of Superior, you get to the lights of Minneapolis, St. Paul. And you can still probably see the lights of Chicago. So if you zoom in further on my location, I then imagine the Mississippi River Valley and the large bluffs that are on the shores of it. And Frontenac State Park is on this section of the river where it gets really wide like a lake. So after I had meditated and done the coherent thought sequencing, I opened my eyes and I laid back in my chair and I started looking at the stars. And at this point, I conveyed to any nearby life forms that might be listening to my broadcast that I wish to invite them to my location in the spirit of peace, mutual respect, and oneness. I thanked them for coming and began generating positive feelings in myself in order to project them to any visitors. And finally, I asked them to manifest for me in any way that's safe and appropriate for them to do so. And then I wait and watch, but also listen.
They say it's just something new. Couldn't be more true.
It's now almost 1:30 a.m., and I've completed 3 full cycles of the protocol now. But the sky was silent. My spirits were low and doubt was starting to creep into my mind. I just started asking myself all these questions like, what am I doing wrong? Maybe there's a step that I missed, or maybe I'm just expecting too much for my first time. And also, since I'm alone, what I really couldn't accept but wondered was that maybe I'd been duped somehow into believing that this is possible. And then I spent time practicing it and devoting this entire night to. And I've been under the stars here for 3.5 hours looking for some response and meditating and going through all this work. And nothing's happening, nothing at all. So before I decided to just call it a night, I took out the ET Contact app again on my phone, and I just reread the entire process to see if there was something that I missed. And I got all the way down to the glossary of terms before I ran into something that's called the Contact Trilogy that I mentioned earlier. And I reread that and realized that the third modality I totally ignored, light. So I was lying on one of these wooden benches when I read this. So I set my phone down, I grabbed my headlamp around my neck, and I flipped the filter back to white light, and I made 2 quick bursts of light into the sky. Nothing. So I gave the entire sky a once-over, and noticed that the moon actually had risen an hour or so before, and I didn't even notice it. And then I saw it. A red point of light. It was right at the top of the sky, and it just very slowly started moving towards the north. And I could just feel the energy in my body start coming alive. This unbelievable feeling that I got a response, that this was a real ship. It didn't look like an airplane. It didn't look like a shooting star or satellite. It was red, and it was moving very, very slowly. I think I stopped breathing. It kept going towards the north, and I watched it, and I communicated with it in my mind. I thanked them for coming. I had this huge grin on my face and had this general feeling of love from the ship. It was really powerful. And that was my first contact experience. And I could feel it. Now I'm pumped. It's getting late, but I just seemed to make a breakthrough, so I'm feeling more confident. I lay back down and shoot 2 more bursts of light into the sky. And boom, the sky is alive. So imagine looking up into the sky and 3 different stars that whatever you think they're stars, they start moving all at the same time, all in different directions. It was crazy. And it was immediate. And right as those 3 stars started moving in these different directions around the sky, a green point of light flies right through the same area, leaving behind a big streak that I swear is still burned in my mind's eye. I've never forgotten that moment. It was very short, but really, really active. I mean, there were, 4 or 5 lights all moving in the sky at the same time. I've never seen anything like it since then. My mouth dropped open. It was fantastic and unexplainable. It left absolutely no doubt. I didn't have to run through a bunch of checks that we normally would run through to make sure that it's not something that's explainable. It was undeniable. During this short window of about 5 minutes, 2 other craft came in that I would have probably explained as orbs of light. Some were white, some were a little bit golden. That green one came through, and then the first one I saw was red. After the sky quieted down, I was in tears. I could not believe what I had just seen. I think I sat down, kind of huddled at the fire, and probably said thank you about 500 times. I was just overcome with gratitude and a really powerful spiritual moment. Everything that I hoped and believed was true and would happen actually did. And I couldn't even believe it. It was one of those rare moments of satisfaction. I'd been searching for answers and meaning for so long, studying and researching, learning and experimenting, and I'd prepared for this night for so long, and it worked. It actually worked. I felt like I had a new lease on life and that there was magic left in this world. And then the wind picked up, or what sounded like the wind, because I was hearing the sound of moving trees. And so I look towards the south and I see that there's a cloud front coming over the trees at the edge of the clearing. So at this point, after everything that I've seen, I'm trying to remain calm and tell myself, okay, don't get excited and turn this into something that's not. It's probably just going to be a little cooler tomorrow, maybe some weather, right? So I'm just watching this cloud as it comes over. And I start to notice that I don't feel any wind. And it had been still all night. And it still was. Still. And the sound of the trees swaying was actually moving with the cloud from my left to my right as it moved sort of in front of me. And at this point, the cloud was about 150 feet in front of me at the tree line. And only then was I aware that this was not a cloud. Now I could see the trees moving beneath it. Beneath what I can only now assume was a craft of some sort. Maybe one of the craft that I had seen in the sky just 15 minutes before. And the tree branches below it weren't swaying all in the same general direction, like the wind makes them do. They were just moving in any which way, like the wind was coming from above it. So as I looked up at this cloud, I actually, when I go back into my mind's eye, I can see little, sort of in the middle of it, underneath it, I could see a darker area that almost came down a touch. So at this point, I'm starting to get nervous. Even that's understating it quite a bit. I'm scared. I mean, the lights in the sky are one thing, but this thing was as big as a building and right in front of me. Holy shit. What have I done? I think I was still under the impression that this was a test, or this was an experiment. And while I wanted to make contact with beings in a ship, the moment it became that close and that real, my nervous system and my brain and my mindset, everything kind of shifted back into what I probably been told for so long, that ETs could be bad, or they could be, maybe there's good ETs and bad ETs, but whatever it was, at that moment, at that range, I guess my body wasn't quite ready yet, and I instantly was scared, like really questioning what I was doing and what was going to happen next. I was terrified. So my mind was racing, and I quickly realized that I had been projecting my location with greater and greater concentration and deeper levels of consciousness for the last 4 hours. And all this time, I didn't signal at all with my light source until just about 15 minutes earlier. And now, there's a ship right in front of me. Well, from that moment in time, when my feelings shifted from love and gratitude to anxiety and fear, it very quickly and deliberately started moving off. Very, very quickly, it was gone. But before it was out of sight, it passed in front of the moon, which had risen just a couple hours earlier. So this cloaking that the ship had, that, I explained was looking like a cloud, it was really very thin in appearance, like a thin, wispy, low-lying cloud. And if it actually was a cloud, then the moon's light would have easily shone through it, at least partly. And then I noticed that it was actually blocking the moon entirely. And just then, as it moved off into the distance, I saw the moon emerge from behind it. The moon's light was like a backdrop to the edge of the cloud, clearly showing a definite edge on this cloud that was not fluffy nor transparent. It was solid. Most of the details that I'm sharing with you guys about this cloud and this night were fleshed out in the moments after the ship left, because during the encounter, I barely moved, I hardly breathed, and I just watched it in utter disbelief. I tried not to correlate this cloud with an ET ship, but this wasn't a cloud. And thinking back, I was watching it and observing it, but I wasn't actively engaging it. The moment I knew what was happening, my nervous system kicked in, and I was scared. And we know that the ETs can monitor our feelings and intentions, and will respond to fear and move away or adjust the interaction to protect any humans that are experiencing fear. So looking back at this event now, I know that moment inside of me was understood by them. I feel some remorse looking back on this time, that these beings responded to my invitation from who knows where they're coming from. And not only did they show up in terms of, in the sky, but they came all the way down to my location. And I've never seen anything like that since. Not even close. I feel like I missed an amazing opportunity. And I feel bad that I couldn't handle that. I couldn't follow through all the way to the end and find out who was on that ship. I guess I'll never know. But I am aware that I have a lot more to learn. I guess I wasn't ready. Up next, a scene from the next episode of CE5 Minneapolis. I come clean to my wife about what I've been working on and how this idea spawned when I was laid up in bed on New Year's Eve.
Oh my god, honey, I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't tell them.
Who? You know, Christmas comes and goes. I get hurt. I'm laying in bed, like, what the fuck am I gonna do? I get an email from Dr. Greer that he sent out to his entire network. Dr. Greer sends a message for everyone to get involved more, and then I say, I'm ready. I'm ready. Like, here's a survey.
And you sent the same day?
The next day. To subscribe to upcoming episodes of CE5 Minneapolis, go to iTunes or go to CE5Minneapolis.com. The music on this and future episodes is from Rhymesayers Entertainment, a Minneapolis-based independent hip-hop label. We hope you will support their artists if you'd like some of the music that you heard on this show. They do it right.
We constantly keep elevating the hustle, the music, the ethic, muscle, the movements, the methods.
We'll be on the lookout for other organizations, companies, and leaders that are also doing it right. Send your nominations to info@ce5minneapolis.com. And thanks to Leon J. down at Slam Academy. Wub, wub, wub. I'm producing this podcast entirely with Ableton Live, and they're the spot to go to in Minneapolis if you need help with that. You're the man, Leon. Finally, I'll be attending the Global Ambassador Training in California next month. If you have specific questions about CE5 protocols that you think would assist so that you can take that next step, post them on the customer reviews for CE5 Minneapolis podcast on iTunes and any other feedback about the show, and I'll see if Dr. Greer would be willing to field the most helpful questions on the podcast. Thanks for listening, and please rate and review the show on iTunes to help the show find other concerned citizens. I'm Paul Riedner. See you on the next episode of CE5 Minneapolis.
Sex anywhere near as often as I think about death. Go ahead and shout at the top of your lungs, but don't wake the baby up, we got a lot to get done. That little light indicates a connection, and if it's all the same, I'd like to make a suggestion. See, if everybody on this comet agreed, we could set the clock to whenever we want it to be. I might modify the mileage. I don't know much, but I'm confident the fight's fixed. So high that I feel like a pilot falling out of sky full of brilliant brightness. Hurry up, stir me up, you gotta learn the words before the whole earth burning. But we wouldn't even need to recognize your birthday if you were the center of the universe in the first place. If I had feathers, I would fly away. If I felt fresher in fur, I would hibernate. If I ever figured out how to communicate, maybe then we could accumulate. For now, face the wall. I ain't the same as y'all. A real friend wouldn't make you take the fall. Sometimes life will try to break your balls with a long list of missed wake-up calls. Feel special, walk around the festival, carrying a big stuffed animal. I'm trying not to make a mess though, gotta stay sensible. Ain't nobody coming with the antidote. I wanna watch you grow, and I wanna leave the planet better off than it was handed to me. And I don't know there's a possibility, so I settle for selling my soul to the slaves of the land of the free. I don't wanna leave my family tree behind. I don't want no one to miss me like I miss you. But I don't wanna take up too much time. I'm not trying to run away from the line we drew. The sunshine seems to feel so seamless. The soldier is a dreamer and a realist, and history sealed this. Taught me that a hero ain't nothing but a field trip. Nah, I know you're down to do something profound. Put a stick in the ground to prove that you was around. But no amount of time would ever be considered enough. I'm trying to tether it up and live forever through love. We're not lucky, but we're fortunate. I'm pretty sure of it. And all the life we wasted trying to make some bread might have been better spent trying to raise the dead.